Well, hello everybody. I know it's been a while since our last done, but we've just been so busy with our 10th year celebration at the Oasis Centre and Church for the past at least 3 weeks. We've had tremendous times. We started off with a tea party for the over 50s. We had well over 100 people attend there, and we had a really great time. And then we also had veterans. We had veterans tea party as well, and our kids club extravaganzas were absolutely brilliant. We had 1 week we had a Pirates Week, and we had about 80 kids there. The week after we had a Disney night. We had probably another 80 kids with parents, 20 parents, so that were 100. And then to cap it all off, we had party time last Friday, and it was absolutely tremendous. Well over 100 people, children and their parents. We had a great time, and we finished it off yesterday. We had a celebration party. We had a church meeting in the morning at 11 o'clock and just recapped on how things had happened over the past 10 years. And then we had fellowship and food afterwards, and it was really great. But the real highlight for me was last week, was our missions week. Tuesday night, Wednesday night and Thursday night. We had some tremendous testimonies of people, how Jesus had changed their lives and how they'd become Christians and how their lives had changed while they'd become a Christian. Really tremendous. One really spoke to me was an old lady. I think she's in her 70s, and she got up and said when she were a young child, 8-9-year-old, she'd been to Sunday school and church, and she was walking in park one day, and this gentleman came to her and said, "Would you like to come and see some baby rabbits?" And she just heard this voice in her head saying, "Go home, go home." And she walked past him, and he kept saying to her, "Come on, I'll show you some baby rabbits." And she heard this voice just saying, "Go home, go home." Anyway, the next day, there was reported on the local news a young girl had got stabbed in the same park. So it just shows you God can speak to us in any way that he wants to. Well, I shared my life, my Christian life story, and I'm going to share it with you today. And it was all started with my mum, really. Mum was Ukrainian. She was born on a farm in Ukraine. It was a peasant's farm. I remember her saying to us that her bed was just sacks filled with straw. And she was born on this farm. She got to about 5 years old, and then her mother passed away. And after a while, her father remarried, but her stepmother did not treat her very well or showed her any love at all. She grew up on this farm and was not very well treated. And she grew older, and it looked as though the Russians once again tried to invade Ukraine. And one day she went to the bottom of the garden to the gate to pick the mail up from the postman, and she was talking to him, and the postman said, "Go west." Stefania, which was my mother's name, Stefania Dimitriou, "Go west, go to freedom." Pressure from Russia was becoming more and more intense, so her and her brother left the farm and tracked across Europe. And I remember one of the stories she told me, it was a night, and they were in the countryside. I think they were in Germany. I think it was Germany or somewhere in Europe. And as the airplanes came back from bombing England, they would just jettison the bombs that hadn't been released. So that they'd release them manually. So they drop them anywhere, and usually in the country, over the countryside. And on this occasion, they dropped a bomb and it landed on a cow. And the whole village had roast beef for a week. No, no, I'm just joking. I threw that in. But it did land on a cow, and the cow got killed. So my mum and brother trekked across Europe, and she worked, like I say, in Germany for a while on a farm. They worked on a farm and they got paid well. They were well treated, and she got money. Her and her brother got money, they got paid. And there was always something missing in her life, and that was being loved. A deep, deep family love. There seemed to be a gap, a hole in her life and in her heart, where someone that she loved so deeply had now gone, and it had left a gap. Anyway, eventually they got to the European coast and boarded onto a ship for England. Mum, she could not speak a word of English. She was very, very fearful of what things were going to happen, but she knew she just had to go west. That voice again, you see, that voice. While at Southampton Docks, she eventually got tickets and boarded a ship, and it sailed to Southampton. She got to Southampton Docks and got off the ship, and after a while, her brother went away, and he came back. I think he went away to get the legal documents and everything sorted out. And he came back to my mum, and he came back with 2 passage tickets for America. But Mum, of course, said no. She says, I've had enough running. This now is my sanctuary, this country. And had she not, I wouldn't be here telling this story to you people. So he went off, her brother went off to America, and I believe he went to live in Pittsburgh somewhere. Mum went through the legal system and entered Britain. They were catered for through hostels. She moved to a hostel in Cambridge, and then into different areas for work. And she also had to report when she got work to the local police station on a regular basis. Mum was moved into Manchester, and she worked in the cotton mills on her own, couldn't speak English, and she worked there as a spinner. And eventually she worked with a woman, and like I say, she was gradually beginning to speak English, and after a while she started to pick the language up and started to communicate. Anyway, this woman